can mutually agree to bash each other.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's called S&M.
Okay, you're on, Brian.
So we're going to call to order the Libertarian Party Wake County Convention 2016. Thank you all for coming. Hopefully we'll be able to roll through this agenda without too much complication. It's an exciting year and a lot of things going on. And so thank you for coming and joining us.
And you are?
I am Brian Lewis. I am the chairman of the Wake County Libertarian Party. And we're calling to order. Our first item is the adoption of the agenda. There are several copies floating around. Do we have any copies left? I know we have some more folks who came in.
Sorry, we made 10.
Okay. If those who have a copy are willing to share, everyone can follow suit.
He's sharing around that way. I think we're good. We're good.
Without question, we'll accept the agenda as submitted. No objection heard. The agenda has been adopted. So as I have introduced, I'm Brian Lewis. Hope we have more folks coming in. Wonderful.
Hey, Bobby.
So next item on the agenda is the state of the party, and some very important measures. Things I wanted to mention about the state of the party that is really exciting. It seems that given that it's a national political year and there's a lot of folks paying attention to politics, that the party systems for two of the larger parties both seem to be somewhat imploding on themselves, which is kind of exciting to watch as they do so. Perhaps one party more than another. The interesting conversation that we're all having these days. But I think from a libertarian perspective, rational people recognizing that they don't want authority over other people's lives and understanding that they don't want to have unbounded expenditures that just are never kept in control, and a wide range of other topics associated with governance. That rational people really do respect the libertarian perspective. Even those who have not been made aware that what they actually believe in is libertarian. And it's because we haven't reached out and shared the message with them to understand that there's a rational and logical political place to be in the United States and not have to be part of the circus show that is the other big parties that are out there. The 2016 year actually stands to be something very big for the Libertarian Party in our 40-year history. For folks to 45-year history, for folks to recognize that following the entrenched party paradigm and believing that you have to be obedient to some political system is not a way to go. We need to make sure that we're the home to those folks, that we share with them what our ideologies are, and we welcome them. There are a lot of folks, and I at one time was included in that, where my political party had more control over my free thought, in me believing that I had to follow a party's line in order to advance an idea. The Libertarian Party, in many ways, has shown me that we didn't have to live that way. I don't have to support war because I support smaller government. I don't have to support all of my income being taken as property of the state because I think people have rights to make decisions in their own lives. That kind of division is silly. I hope we all move forward in 2016. As Nick Sarwark could put it out, be friendly, be nice, win. Remind folks, Libertarian Party is here. We have been here. We're rational human beings, and we welcome other rational human beings to join us. It's a circus out there, and they don't need to participate. Come join us, invite friends, as people discuss, make a friendly overture that they're welcome here. And I think 2016 will be a phenomenal year for the principles of libertarianism, little l, and will therefore be a great year for the Libertarian Party, big L. So thank you all for coming, and I would like to now introduce our gubernatorial candidate, Lon Cecil. And Lon Cecil will be giving our keynote address this evening. And so if you'll please welcome Lon.
That's perfect. Perfect.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening with the group. This has been an interesting campaign as we started into it. JJ Summerall and I are running. We'll be on the top of the ticket in November. And it's beginning to look like there's going to be some other interesting people on there. We're finding that a lot of the citizens of North Carolina are dissatisfied with the current governor. We're finding some of them in the Democrat Party that are not particularly in favor of another attorney. So I have an engineering background, and we're pushing that side of it. I'm not a lawyer, but get an engineer and look at see if there are alternatives to higher tax and more regulation. I'm pushing three things in the discussions with people: economic growth, and I don't consider growth in government jobs to be economic. Economic jobs are jobs that hire people, they produce products, and they try to increase the overall well-being and health of the state. I want to reduce burdensome regulations. Lord knows we've passed enough of them in the past 10 years to pretty well kill small businesses and startups in North Carolina. I started with two other guys in a small company doing electronic signs 2 years ago, so I've gotten another in-depth study of all the little fingers of government who wants to control everything and tax it, and then resell your name and address to people to make more money out of it. Turns out that the North Carolina government is a huge nonprofit corporation that has taxation so they can bring in as much money as they want and they spend it where they want. I favor educational choice. The North Carolina Constitution requires that the state provide for the education of young people, but it doesn't state how much or how long. As has been pointed out, at the time that was written, 5 years of education is considered full education, not 12 years in college and graduate work. But the general public education that we've been operating with for the past 50 to 100 years does not meet everybody's needs. Vouchers, trade schools, vocational schools, and some considerations of how our public schools are operated is definitely worthwhile. I think that our expenses and taxes due to the administrative account of the schools an opportunity to save some taxpayer money also. We're now to the point that we have more administrators than we have teachers. It's worse than one-to-one now. And from a commercial standpoint, that's never efficiency. You don't have any people just standing around watching things, which an administrator basically does. I'm also pushing environmental protection. We need to leave a clean and healthy environment for the kids and the grandkids and the great-grandkids that come behind us. That doesn't mean we can't do things like fracking for oil and gas. It needs to be done at a very controlled and regulated capability. I grew up out in Oklahoma. They were doing fracking back in the late 50s. In fact, that was part of what my father did, was provide fracking services for a small company out there. But they're now finding that it wasn't the fracking that was causing the earthquakes. It was changing them over to use them for hazardous disposal wells. And that hazardous disposal material turns into a lubricant, and now they're having earthquakes. So we need to be more careful about what we do to the fracking. With the recent drops in the price of gas and oil, there's much less economic advantage to them on fracking anyway. There are many other things that people want to see in our state, but basically everything comes down to it should be people, not politics. We need to live free in North Carolina. You should be able to live your life the way you want. As a Libertarian, that's first and foremost my approach to life. I'm on Cecil. I appreciate your vote in November. Thank you.
Is there going to be a Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely.
I have a question.
Always. As long as you meet the requirements. U.S. citizenship, not cash over $50. Absolutely.
No cash over 50?
Not in the same day.
Always appreciate it.
I would love to know your stand on medical marijuana, and industrial hemp in general.
I fully favor legalization of medical marijuana in North Carolina. North Carolina already has all of the taxes and all the laws and all of the equipment in place with RJ Reynolds and the other tobacco-only equipment. We simply fire up the equipment that they've had idle over the past 5 years, plant the crops. We're accustomed to growing tobacco. It's not that much different to grow marijuana and produce medical marijuana. Colorado went through last year and were able to collect $75 million for the legislature to spend willy-nilly wherever they want to. Hopefully they didn't do like we did with the lottery and say, well, 30% education and we'll spend the rest of it on luxury trips. But it's an economic that produces product that is needed throughout the United States. The U.S. government still says no marijuana, but they have stood by on California on some of it. They stood by on Colorado. They stood by on Washington State. Congress is specifically in charge of Washington, D.C., and they allowed them 6 months ago to start growing their own in their apartment and smoking what they got. They can only trade limited amounts with friends and can't charge each other, but if Congress is allowing it to be done in their own state, then it's very difficult for me to say that they should be able to get a jury to do anything to other states. The medical marijuana should not have any effect on street drugs or street use of marijuana. It's well controlled and all capable. It should give us a rather nice tax boost capability, especially when it's sold out of state.
What's your position on legalization of marijuana?
It's like the drill sergeant used to say in the Army, you smoke it if you got it. There are issues with any drug. There's problems with aspirin. There's problems with Tylenol. Any drug can be abused. But we are supposed to be a free people. Okay, we're supposed to be a free people and free will. And if it's not harming someone else, then we should be able to do what we want, especially on our own property.
It's a shame that didn't make it.
Yeah, I have a question. Wondering just if you could give us a minute or so to gauge the level of, for lack of a better term, I'll say seriousness of your campaign, in the sense of, I mean, do you have a campaign manager? Sean Hall ran a statewide campaign in 2014, and I think for us Libertarians, he spent about $17,000 in a environment where they were spending $100 million between them, the two Democrat and Republicans, and he ended up with 4% of the vote, which obviously, from a cost-effective point of view, is incredibly effective. I'm just wondering where you fit into that scale. What kind of budget you've got, that kind of thing.
The JJ and I have looked at what we can reasonably expect to raise and spend on it, and as Libertarians, we're not going to be able to do the $3 or $4 million TV campaigns. However, I am retired. I don't have anything else that I have to do between now and the 9th of November, except work with this campaign. You may or may not recognize I ran in 2010 against Mel Watt in what used to be called District 12, and I managed to get 2% against Mel Watt in his very much home turf. So I've added a campaign manager. She'll take care of a lot of the keeping track of things that was my difficulty in District 12. I'm seriously wanting to move into the governor's mansion for 4 years. I think that we need to standardize that it's pizza and beer on Saturday afternoons as we watch ball games. But and I would hope to be the first bachelor to live in the mansion. But I understand it doesn't have much in the way of internet service, so we might have to get dish added or something.
I resolved that a few months
You got to
ago.
resolve it.
As Bill mentioned about money, since you are in a supportive environment,
Okay.
I hope most people here are already decided to vote for the Libertarian candidate. This is a good time to ask for contributions and also volunteer efforts. I mean, this is definitely the pool from which our volunteers are going to come for any campaigns.
This is my hope for the pool for Wake County and nearby areas on what we can do for ground game here. It's a 90-mile drive for me over here. But I'm back and forth. I'm here again Saturday for the Civitas show and tell Saturday afternoon. So we'll be here, but I'm open to suggestions and what to do on games.
Do you have paraphernalia like stickers?
I'm beginning to do that. Thus far, I got the cards. I still have the nail files, which my problem is I need somebody in June or July. I have to make them remember my name until November. That's the only thing that I found is that, and that is what got my name in on Mel Watt. Because women would get that, and they would keep reminding their husband every time they use it what they got, where they got it, and put my name back in front of it 3 or 4 times.
I have a question. Of course, you have another contribution, not for me.
You talked about the administrators getting more, there are more of them, the teachers and
Yes.
so on. Right, what is your proposal for education?
There's a lot of problems with where we are with education. Everyone in education wants more money. Everyone wants 2 or 3 more administrators in the classroom. No one seems to have the willingness to ask for more administrators to sit up in the offices. That's a good sign. We're going to have to pretty much work with the money we've got and limit additional administrators. If they haven't got a teaching degree or a bus driver's license, We need to really look at how much we need. Historically, we had one administrator for every 5 teachers in North Carolina up until somewhere in the early 70s. I haven't gotten a good number yet on that. But it's since then that ratio keeps going down. The immediate control for it is to get people to elect the legislature, people that will say no, we don't hire more administrators, hire more teachers, and pay the teachers better.
Can you make that suggestion strongly? In other words, can you hit the unions or whatever it is that brings us in and give it a common core also?
Yeah. All checks, for anybody that supports Common Core, your check has to be made out of Common Core now, which, for anybody that studied it, yes, practically indecipherable. The governor does not have the ability to pass pretty much anything as law. The governor has the ability to adjust the budgets for various groups and direct the lieutenant governor to direct the State Board of Education on what the policies shall be. And most of the problems with education are the State Board of Education's policies of what they want to hire and how they want to spend the money. Legislature can reduce the amount of money they get. There's little the legislature can do at this point to affect the policy. That has to be done through the lieutenant governor and just state board.
But you have some influence, right?
Governor has a lot of influence.
And you know, I think what's been showing in this past year with all of the candidates up for president, you have to be really strong and tough and mean, are you?
Can't you tell my vote?
Engineers are not known to be tough and mean.
Engineers are not going to be tough to me. I'm stubborn enough, I was married for the last 7 years. And that ended up because my wife had cancer that Wake Forest couldn't fix. But I have the stubbornness and the tenacity to spend all 4 years beating on whatever needs to be done. I'm not afraid to stand up in front of the group and say, I think we need to do this and this and this. I was at a biker convention down in Gastonia last week, in which I was standing there on the floor talking with a doctor who did not like the recreational marijuana side of it. And I said, but what is your objection to the medical marijuana? He said, oh, well, actually, there's no studies that I've seen yet, but I've seen a lot of anecdotal, but it seems to be useful. So, I'm willing to stand with the groups and discuss what we need to do and how we need to get there and browbeat or wake up at night. Anybody who wants to.
Can I make a suggestion that, honestly, the marijuana is the least of our problems? I mean, really, anybody brings up that topic because you're a libertarian, you're going to do it every time. I would say, it's the least of our problems, let's move on.
It is a big problem, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's an industrial complex, children with seizures, like my son, it is a big issue.
I understand that but I'm really sorry to hear that.
But the truth of the matter is, they'll do it to hurt you, grab it, you don't want.
Lon will be here through the night, so we're going to move to our next step on the agenda and take some questions afterwards. Thank you so much. Our next agenda item is the WakeLP Candidate Stump. There's a handful of us here who are running for local office. It's quite exciting, and I'm actually going to turn this part over to Brad Hessel. Brett?
Greetings, my name is Brad Hessel. I'm the treasurer of the Wake County Libertarian Party, and I'm going to MC the stump speeches. They are limited to, please, only 2 minutes each. We have other items we want to get through on the agenda, and we want to have a chance to talk a lot after the meeting, so we want to get through this as quickly as possible. By the way, this time that I'm talking now, this is kind of gets 2 minutes. Wake County, we were able to get 7 candidates running for North Carolina General Assembly seats this year. As opposed to 2014, we had 0, so it's a pretty big improvement. 5 of those folks are here tonight. Unfortunately, Brian Irving, who is running in the 34th, I think, 35th, whatever, he couldn't make it because he's in the Philippines for this month. And Olin Watson III, who's running in the 38th House District, couldn't make it because he's actually at a campaign event tonight. So we accept that as a reasonable excuse why he couldn't make it. Also, as treasurer, I did want to talk just for a couple of minutes about the Wake County Libertarian Party financial situation in general. In 2015, we had our best year ever in terms of contributions. We collected $726 in contributions. We also had a $600 loan, which enabled us to spend $1,144, which was also a record. Currently we have about $400 in the bank. We have about $500 outstanding on the loan. We have about $50 a month coming in recurring income. We do have some plans to spend some money this year because we do think that it's a great opportunity. With the election cycle always takes a fair amount of attention, and on top of that, we have Donald Trump, who's obviously bringing huge amounts of attention in. So people are paying attention that normally wouldn't pay attention. I mean, they had rallies. People were going to rallies in 2015, a year before the election, which is completely unheard of, and actually watching the debates. I mean, who ever heard of that either? So we think it's a great time for us to raise the flag and let people know that we exist. But we do need some funding to be able to do that. So if there's any way you can consider becoming a monthly donor, even at the $5 or $10 level, that would really be helpful because then we can plan. And failing that, a one-time contribution would be wonderful. Also, we have just go to WakeLP.org is our website, and you can there's a donation option there. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about my campaign, and actually I'm not going to give my stump speech because you guys, for the most part, are libertarians. I don't need to be selling you on libertarianism. I will answer one question in advance. I do have entertainers in my family. My wife is married to a manager who did rock groups, and now he's doing comedy routines. My mother was an actress, and my father was a film distributor. So if Donald Trump is the new standard, hopefully I'll match up, at least in that regard, although I don't do angling really well, so probably I'm not qualified despite all that. I do think, though, that this is a great year for us to strike while the ire is hot. To steal a phrase from our keynote speaker at our convention, the LPNC convention last year, there was a tremendous amount of dissatisfaction and anger. If you look at Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, those are the 2 candidates that are pulling in the crowds. What do they have in common? Both of them are very strong that the government is corrupt and that the 1% are basically have everything fixed, and people are left out in the cold with no alternative and no voice in what happens to their lives. And I think they're coming at it from different angles. Donald Trump's kind of the Tea Party angle, and Bernie Sanders is kind of the Occupy Wall Street angle, but there's a lot of congruence between those 2 paths. Both of them opposed wars. They were the only 2 candidates that opposed the Iraq invasion in 2002, which may probably be better than some of us even. Certainly, I didn't really realize it was a bad idea until there were no weapons of mass destruction. So Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders are ahead of me there. They also they're concerned about income inequality. That's a huge issue for Sanders, not so much for Trump, but he does talk about it. So they actually agree on a lot of important things, and it's not surprising in my mind that they're the ones that are attracting the attention. So it's up to us as libertarians to take advantage of the fact these people are paying attention that normally wouldn't to politics and elections and present common sense alternatives. I mean, you can say that Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders have some good diagnosis of some of the problems. Of course, their solutions are completely off the chart. I mean, build a wall. Exactly what problem is that supposed to solve? And Bernie Sanders, I mean, basically his solutions look like something designed by a group that didn't do too well in math. I mean, basically, we have $20 billion of debt, and their solution is to spend more money and get our kids further into hock. And I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. So, if we can take advantage of the fact these guys are paying attention and put forward some proposals, I think that will stand us a good stead. We may not win this year, but folks will remember that the Donald Trump balloon is going to deflate, and some of them will remember that there was somebody talking common sense, and others will be able to recall it. So, so that's what I'm dedicating myself to. And of course, it's on a state level, not on a national level, but I'm going to be focusing on that. And I will say one more thing about this group, which is that we are working together to pull together a platform, or platform is probably an over-exaggeration, but a set of issues that we all kind of agree on, and they're very congruent with what Lon talked about. We share education with him and the environment with him, and the third one for us is transportation. The economy is a good one. So we're going to be focusing on those three issues as a group. Okay, so I'm probably overstepped my 2 minutes. Susan, you want to take a shot?
I do.
I recommend people come up here to where the broadcast media are and speak from there.
I'm going to pass, because I think I can see me in there. So
Okay,
that's-
let me move this
and
closer.
this way I'm not talking. So, like Brad, I don't really want to give a stump speech because you're all libertarians, and I hope, and many of you live in the 17th Senate District. If you do, I hope you'll vote for me. But I do want to take the time, because I am surrounded by libertarians, to say that this is the time of the year to start thinking about going to the state convention, going to the national convention, supporting the state party, the local party, the national party, getting involved at the party level. And in fact, one of the main goals of my campaign, as always, is to talk to people on an individual basis and identify people who are libertarians, have just not really heard about it, or thought about it, and get them activated as, as members of the party and get them interested in activism and bring them into the party. So I hope other candidates will also take that opportunity to, when someone does show a lot of interest, to sign them up with the party and get them coming to our meetings. I think that's really all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Next is Brian Lewis, running for the 38th, is that right?
No, that's NC House 11.
Oh, 11, I'm sorry,
11,
you're right, 38 is 11.
38, 11, give or take. What's more important than the number on which district we run for is stopping this pendulum of extremes. Stopping this one set of ideas going to one end of the spectrum, and then in opposition, people feeling they have to take it to the other end. We're focusing, bringing to the legislature, bringing attention to the issues: education, transportation, environment. There's such a wide list, a long list. In this table, everyone being libertarian and understanding more of the nuance of the conversations, we will get into the depths. Those types of conversations tend to put a lot of people off. So we want to focus on, if you're tired of the extremes, if you're tired of a heavy-handed approach to solving problems, when it comes to education, focusing on back budgeting. Any organization has to have administration, has to dedicate money to capital expenses. But the purpose of that money being dedicated and being set aside is to educate a child. And when you take a classroom of children, a classroom of 20 children in the state of North Carolina commands over $200,000 public resources that are being expended for their education. Are they receiving $200,000 worth of education in that classroom? Not whether I feel they're getting it. More important than anything is whether or not their own parents feel that they're receiving it. And if a parent feels that their child is not receiving services as they feel fit, what options does that parent have to improve the life of their child, whom they are better invested and better focused and better aware of the detail than any legislator or administrator will ever be? I want that parent empowered to make a decision for their child in what's best for their child, and to have command over the budget that is being expended to educate their child, and being able to bring it to wherever their child has their needs best suited, according to the parent's choice. When we talk about transportation, the arguments that are going on in this state in the legislature in terms of how much money is being wasted and how many pet projects people are trying to get in their districts. We have a wonderful system in North Carolina in which it's a usage tax and fuel taxes that go to our roads. The current model of how we distribute that is broken because it's done on favoritism. It's done as a political buy, as opposed to a mechanism that lets that money flow where the drivers are. And there are some great ideas in how we ensure that that limited amount of money that comes in through those fuel taxes is dedicated to where people need to go and how we identify that. We can get into a lot of detail of how these programs work through a lot of those. Anyone who likes to sit down and have that kind of a policy conversation, I enjoy having, but at the end of the day, it's ensuring that the roads are being funded, and that they're being funded with money that's been set aside for them, and not being wasted in a political game of buying favor. And environment, ultimately, again, lots of policy details, but the most important part is that we focus on the outcome of our environmental guides and not on the details of our, it's more over whether or not we're destroying the environment and not restricting people from innovating in the environment, allowing people the right to use their property as they feel fit, so long as they are not harming those communal assets, not harming our air, not harming our water, and ensuring that our beautiful North Carolina is protected for future generations. These things can be done without the extremism, without the political rancor that occurs. I hope to be a part of that conversation, bringing common sense and rationality and nonpartisanship. We can do that. That's why I'm running, why my other partners are running in this, and thank you so much. Please support your Libertarians.
Yes, can I just have your attention real quick? Is anybody else sharing a check at all? Or is everybody else accepting? Everyone accept checks? Okay. Thank you about that.
And next we have Rob Rose. While he's making his way, I will mention that I think Susan neglected to mention she is running in the Senate 17, is that right?
No, I didn't. Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, I neglected to mention I'm running in Senate 15, and Rob is going to tell you where he's running.
Hi, my name is Rob Rose, and I am running for the North Carolina House District 37 seat. So I live in Apex. I live out in the country outside of Apex. That's where District 37 runs along the southern part of the county. I was born in Ohio, graduated from Ohio State University, promptly got married, moved to North Carolina because I had a job with IBM. I retired from IBM 5 years ago. Promptly I retrained myself to be a teacher, and I quit because I was overwhelmed and underpaid. And I got myself a part-time job back in the IT world. So some things I think are important that would help us all would be, one would be if we could shorten the legislative session, maybe put some limits on it, which would save us money and also save us from laws. Another thing would be I'd like to make sure the business tax is as low as it can be, and also not giving any special tax breaks to individual firms. So I'm not crazy about corporate welfare, but I would like to keep the regulations as low as possible and the taxes as low as possible. And then finally, probably the other thing would be I want to make sure that we maintain or maybe even improve the curbs that we have on eminent domain, on the use of eminent domain, and forced annexation. I think that those are three things that I think would help improve the state if we could do those things. I'm running because we can. I think it's important to take the opportunity if it's given to us. And, you know, if elected, I'll do the best that I can. So I dearly appreciate your vote.
Okay, and then last tonight, we have David Ulmer, who is NC 49.
Yep.
Hey, I got one right.
Dave Ulmer, NC House 49. My two that I really care about are also education. And I won't say just always attacking Common Core. I will say you take your $8,000 and $9,000 from the state and you go to the school that's best for your child. It's as simple as that. So if you believe that something else is right for your child and you like testing and international standards or whatever, and you think that's best, put your kid in that environment. If you don't, put your kid where he needs to be. As far as environment and energy policy, I want to break up the grid. Primarily, I don't want the state, you know, supporting solar panels or siding with a monopoly. Just break it up, just like AT&T's network was broken up at one point, and all the CLECs had access to sell cheaper phone service. If you can simply go and choose who your energy producer is, then that will decide, the market will decide who wins. Whether some people want to pay more for solar panels and solar energy, great. If other people don't, great. You let the market decide. And then finally, a message that's maybe not always popular with some is greater freedom and individual liberty does mean greater responsibility for that individual. I know some people like to blame the government for quite a bit and talk about how screwed up it is. I've also noticed a lot of people can still cope with that if they're pretty bright and they work hard and other stuff. So it's not this limiting factor, and people need to understand by reducing government, we're just trying to make it easier for individuals who want it to succeed. We're not removing some evil. If you believe that government is actually preventing you as an individual from having a successful life, I would ask that you maybe reevaluate how you're looking at the world, because you can still get by. We want to make it easier for you and limit the things that are holding you back. But the whole world is not aligned against you, and that's something that maybe puts me out of the current environment as far as a message, but I do believe it. So, thank you.
Okay, before I turn things back over to Brian, I just want to mention that we do have here a pamphlet that was printed up by the Libertarian Party of North Carolina, which is really helpful if you're trying to explain libertarianism to somebody. It's got a chart inside which shows positions, the libertarian point of view, the Democratic point of view, and the Republican point of view typically. So feel free to help yourself. They're up here on this table. Also, if you're not on our mailing list and should like to be, you should take one of these cards. It's basically an information card about the WakeLP. It has all of our connection information on it. And it also talks about our Thursday meetings. We typically do meet Thursdays. It's not usually this larger group here at the Gourmet Factory. Sometimes, maybe once a month or so, it'll be a special program. More typically, it's just an opportunity to talk about libertarian issues or the latest movie or TV show or whatever you want to talk about with fellow libertarians.
May I suggest, if you have enough of those, that people take at least 3 or 4 and keep them in your car or something. I've had some of my best political discussions at gas stations, and where people be, especially if you have a home speaker, and then you can just, you know, hand someone a card and say, hey, come to our meeting.
They're up here as well.
Wonderful, thank you. Next item on our agenda is the election of officers for the 2016-2017 year.
Second.
And
Move that we entrap the current slate.
Second.
Chair's not recognized. So nominations for the chair.
I nominate Brian Lewis.
Second.
Do we have any further nominations for chair?
Call the question.
All in favor?
Just a point of information, anyone who is a member of the Libertarian Party and resides in Wake County, as Phil mentioned earlier, is eligible to vote in this election. If you aren't if you're in Wake County but not a member of the Libertarian Party, which you can be either by being registered as a Libertarian, having paid $25 to the Libertarian Party of North Carolina as your annual dues, or taking the non-aggression pledge. Any one of those three will do it for you. Yeah. I'd be happy to accept the $25 for the LPNC or any other thing if you want to, you know, get eligible. But so I guess at this point we probably should just go ahead and vote.
And on that, so if any of these votes run really close and are down to a vote or two, we're going to pull cards. Right?
That would be a good time to contribute to this.
So we can't vote for another people?
No, that is always an option. All right, those in favor of Brian Lewis retaining chair, indicate by raising your hand. All right, and those in favor of NOTA, none of the above, always a Libertarian option. All right, Brian Lewis is retained chair position for the Wake County Libertarian Party. Congratulations.
Right.
Next, we're going to move on, thank you, to vice chair.
I'd like to nominate Lonnie.
All right,
Second.
nominated and seconded. Do we have any further nominations for vice chair? Unseen?
This is gonna be easy.
Yeah. Those in favor of Lonnie Holcomb for Wake County vice chair, please indicate, raise your hand. Those for NOTA? Lonnie, congratulations. If I die, you get chair.
Don't tempt him.
I don't think it's
Secretary.
I nominate Owen Watson, and I need to speak a little bit about that nomination because he is not actually here himself. As I mentioned, he's actually at a campaign event carrying our flag for us. Brian Irving, the incumbent, has indicated that he is not available to serve for the 2016-2017 year, and Owen has agreed to step up and take the job, assuming that another candidate who's better qualified or more popular doesn't preempt him.
Speaking to that, I would also support Owen as well. He's a really nice guy and I think he can do the job.
Hard work.
Is that a second?
Most definitely.
Okay, so that's a second. And I will confirm for anyone who may have any questions, Jess Olin did volunteer for this, so we're not tossing him in there. So,
That's what happens if you don't show up to meetings.
And years past that, we're breaking that tradition.
All right. Do we have any further nominations for secretary for Wake County? None seen. Move forward to vote. Those in favor of Olin Watson for secretary, indicate by raising your hand.
Yay.
Okay. And those in favor of NOTA, none of the above. None seen. Olin wins. Congratulations, Olin. Adventure. And you know, just a note on Olin, who's also a candidate, is at an event right now in an area in our community that is facing some concerns and strife. And I have to say it is a challenge. And I applaud Olin for, given the social tensions that exist right now and the community tensions that exist right now and the angst that exists right now, for Olin to be at that event is a good mark on his character. And I think we're lucky to have him in our slate of candidates, and very appreciative to his efforts. So. Next, we have treasurer. Do we have any nominees for treasurer?
I nominate Rob Bruce as hiding back. I heard that semi retired.
Seconded.
And that's been seconded.
I nominate Brad.
Oh, and we have nomination of Brad Hessel.
Second.
And seconded.
Brad, it's my understanding if you give me $25, you can get out of this.
All right. Those in favor of Rob Rose for treasurer.
Are we going to ask the, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you do have an opportunity to speak in,
Okay.
Rob?
Yeah, I do want to say that I think Brad's a real low energy kind of guy. Which is perfect for this office, right? So, I'm really glad that somebody else like knows how to do this now. And I know that there's a few other people in the party that know how to do it, and that's great. So it doesn't have to be me. I can do it.
Because you have one.
I've done it. I will do it if you so choose.
Okay.
Brad?
I'd be ecstatic if Rob wants to take it. It would be great. I'll vote for him.
Okay.
Those
Those
really
in
don't like
favor of
government.
Rob
We can't
Rose
get
for
anybody.
treasurer, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay. Those in favor of Brad Hessel, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay. Those in favor of Nota, none of the above. None of the above. Rob, congratulations. It was a resounding thumping.
Brad, I expect you to, buy me dinner or something.
As his last act out of the treasurer.
Betrayal. That's in the back.
Wonderful.
If the treasurer actually has a job, he has to do some stuff.
Oh, right. It's
not a slide-by job at all.
Okay, well, we have elected our slate for 2016, 2017. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Our next step is still in the election, is Orlando. Or actually, no, this is not the state.
Crabtree Valley.
Right, yes, this is down the street. Yay.
Oh, is that where it is?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a Holiday Inn.
Okay, point of information, the Wake County Libertarian Party has been allocated 31 delegates to the state convention. Now this is this is probably pretty much a technicality. I've only been with the party since 2013, but my understanding is that this is a tradition that goes well back. When we get to the convention, typically there's a motion made that basically authorizes anybody who shows up who's a member of the LPNC to be considered to be a delegate regardless of what county they're from. However, in theory, it could make a difference if that doesn't happen or if it's defeated. So basically, what I would suggest is that anyone who is a member of the LPNC who plans to go to the convention, who's at this meeting, should let us know, and that I think typically the way it's done is that the chair of the county is responsible for maintaining the list of who's a delegate and who's not, which usually doesn't matter, but might theoretically matter at some point in time. I mean, at one convention or another.
Point of information, another resolution that we should do after we have selected everybody here as a delegate is give the chair the power to appoint others.
Bingo.
I would second that idea, yeah. Because we have one tonight who's already contacted us asking about that.
Okay. Okay. So everyone here is a delegate.
Well,
Who is a member, who are LPNC members, and since you're all here, we know that that'll be moving forward as such, so we're.
All right, what I recommend is we pass around a piece of paper, and if
Yeah.
anyone who's
There we go.
plans to be, okay, that's great, yeah.
All right.
just to be formal about it, I move that what you just said is true.
Second.
Call question.
The state convention.
April 22nd, I believe.
Correct.
It's that weekend, yeah, the 22nd, 23rd, 24th
And then the national convention
is in May.
is at the end of May.
Yes, Memorial Day weekend, that's 3-day weekend, so. We're gonna be looking down.
Oh, by the way, if anyone is going
Wednesday
to
or
Orlando, I'm
Thursday.
thinking about
Early Thursday.
giving a man.
It's not out
And if that passed, I move that you have the power to appoint more of them until you run out of slots.
Okay.
So you need to call that question.
Call that question.
That needs a question, that
Okay,
needs a second.
Second.
No, Lonnie already seconded it.
Okay, okay. So the question before us is granting the chair, the county, the authority to name delegates for those that are not named and filled this evening until said list is filled, which is 31.
Which would be most of the people at the convention.
Okay. So, a vote in favor is to allow the chair the authority to name delegates to the state convention. A vote against is to maintain the list as to what's approved tonight. Those in favor of this authority, please signify by raising your hand. Those opposed? Unopposed. It died. Look who made the pen.
Yeah. Better idea.
Government pen.
Oh, speaking of already,
Yeah, it started. Yeah.
early voting started
Yesterday.
so, for the primary.
Good luck.
Oh,
Yeah, some primary.
are we done business? Because I have something else I wanted to say.
That's a list, so we're fine on that. So we can move to other business while this list is going.
I
So
just want to say one thing. I forgot to say my speech. There is something on the primary ballot that Libertarians should be very concerned about. First of all, we should be concerned that it is on the primary ballot. There should never be a bond question or a constitutional amendment on the primary ballot. Inconceivable.
say it right.
Inconceivable, yes. So that would be like one thing that we should focus on if we do, when we do get into the state legislature, is making sure, and even before that, making sure that there's a bill to end that kind of practice. It's a terrible thing, especially with bond issues. It's just a way of getting a smaller group of people who are more focused to go out and approve it. Well, actually, I shouldn't say especially bond issues. They tried the same shenanigans with bonds and constitutional amendments and other kind of ballot questions. They should not be on primary ballots. Primary serves the sole purpose of having political parties select their candidates. Anyway, so on primary day, we should be out speaking against bonds at polling places. And if anybody is interested in organizing that kind of event, that's great. If not, you'll have my card. Send me an email because then we can sort of divide up the polling places and pick the 5 or 10 biggest ones and go out, hand out, sort of develop a card or something and hand out and have omelets. Thanks. Sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Really big, yes.
Motion from the floor.
So one more thing on that, there's already a group called, I think they're called North Carolina's, or the Women's Against Bond or something. They make a PDF that you can print and cut into 4 pieces if you want something to hand out.
That's okay.
Is that the real low budget against the bond?
Will be done. You don't need to say much.
Very good.
But I can name whoever. You're in the party.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's my nephew, 2 or 3 days.
Is most of the voting that's done on one day, or is this really 3 days?
2 days of voting. There's no voting on Friday. Hopefully it'll all be done Saturday, except for the election of the EC that happens on Sunday. So there is voting on both days.
All right. Is there other additional business?
You want to sign this?
Can I have a lot
If you join the party,
Okay, I have it, so
well, you can always have your name added later.
That's right. Just let me know. I have the authority.
Second.
Without objection, so moved. Thank you, everybody. That actually went nice and smooth and what wasn't painful at all. So now we can have political talk.